There are many things to learn from Trump's speech last night, from his Mardi Gras speech. It was the longest of its kind. It was a carnival of self congratulation, policy contradictions, a reaffirmation of his brand of personalist politics. And whether one found it amusing, horrifying, or exhausting, it was undoubtedly a spectacle, as much a spectacle, really, though I don't suppose it's going to get as much time as the spat with Zelensky in the Oval Office. But beyond the pageantry, there are three main core lessons that emerge. The first one is that Trumpism is now fully untethered from conventional politics. Gone are the days when Trump attempted even the pretense of traditional statecraft. This was not a policy speech nor a legislative agenda setting moment. Instead, it was pure myth making. It was a speech about Trump, not about America. He declared his own return as the greatest comeback we have ever seen, while making no effort at bipartisanship. It was a spectacle, more spectacle than substance. His vision for America included golden domes, the acquisition of Greenland one way or another, and claims of divine intervention in his survival. It was unlike past presidents who who used these sort of addresses to outline legislative priorities. Trump effectively treated Congress as a set of cheerleaders or adversaries who can be ignored. And this shift demonstrates that Trumpism is no longer bound by the institutional norms of American government. It's personal, it's performative, it's largely indifferent to the structures that are beyond it. They are beyond their ability to reinforce their rules, and Trump is dictating. The second point is that economic nationalism is Trump's political engine. But there are clear contradictions. Trump's economic message was framed around tariffs, industrial resurgence, and a rejection of traditional market-free conservatism. But his approach is riddled with error. He announced sweeping new tariffs on Canada, on Mexico, and China, casting them as necessary for America's rebirth. Yet Wall Street tanked, businesses warned of rising costs, and even some Republicans expressed uneasiness. This is political theatre that is not necessarily responding with a resounding clap. He credited Musk with cost-cutting measures, the Muskification of government, as if Musk is spraying his scent all over the place, implying a technocratic purge of the federal bureaucracy, ironically while railing against unelected bureaucrats. It's a budgetary fantasy land. As Trump pledged to balance the federal budget while cutting taxes and promising extravagant projects like his Golden Dome missile defense system. These contradictions reveal a truth about Trump's economic populism. It's not a coherent strategy, but a vehicle for rallying his base. And the economic reality of tariffs, corporate influence, and budget deficits are secondary to their political unity and their political utility, their political value. Their political value, there is only one political value here, and that is Trumpism. The third point, the third major idea that we can take away from this long speech is that culture war, that thing Kemi Badenoch loves, and immigration are his true policy priorities. While trade and budget promises were filled with inconsistencies, he hasn't thought them through. Trump was unambiguous about two things: his cultural agenda and his commitment to mass deportations. He attacked wokeness, his affirmative action, his diversity initiatives. These are all to be gone. He presented these as existential threats to America's soul. It's a full-throated culture war. If you want affirmative action, you're going to have to find it somewhere else. Trump's affirmative action is to dump all this stuff. The border is a political weapon. He boasted that his mere presence in office had curbed illegal crossings and pledged an intensified deportation campaign in the wake of this. So we've gone from the wall to Trump striding across the seas as a deterrent. Trump is the deterrent, not the wall. And He made no overtures to cooperation. The Democrats are the enemy. Instead, instead of any form of any form of cooperation, we heard it the other day in the Oval Office. Biden is a fool, and instead, instead of courtesy, he relishes the anger of he relishes stoking up the anger of the Democrats, mockingly dismissing their protests and even their laughter. This reinforces what has been clear since the 2016 campaign. Trump's core political appeal lies in grievance politics, much like Farage. The culture war, the border are his ideological bedrock, and everything else, economics, foreign policy, even the government itself, is secondary to that narrative. If there's one final takeaway from Trump's speech, it's that its content will matter less than its style. It was a performance designed to entertain his base, to enrage his opponents, to dominate the news cycle. And while historians may view it as incoherent or detached from reality, while historians may say actually the real news was his attack on Zelensky in the Oval Office, this was an attempt to get on the front page again. It was effective political theatre. Trumpism in its second act is less about policy and more about Trump himself. Trumpism is trumping its own existence. It's like a it's like a pronounced bay of flatulence, which you cannot ignore. It fills the room.